In this world, there exist countless organizations operating in darkness. Some are criminal syndicates controlling entire cities. Others are secret intelligence groups manipulating nations from behind the scenes. There are mercenary corps, underground empires, and shadow networks so powerful that even governments hesitate to provoke them. Yet no matter how vast their influence or how terrifying their reputation, all of these organizations share one undeniable truth. They are afraid of one man. His name is Peter. What makes this fear almost unbelievable is the fact that Peter is not a rising tyrant or a young prodigy. He is an old man, already in his 60s. His body is weak, his life nearing its end. And yet, his name alone is enough to freeze even the most ruthless criminals in place. The story opens in a grim and silent location. A man lies sprawled on the cold ground, his body broken beyond recognition. Blood seeps from his wounds, staining the floor beneath him. His breathing is shallow, uneven. Every breath feels like it might be his last. With what little strength he has left, the man begins to speak, not to beg, not to curse, but to tell a story. He starts talking about Peter. He talks about Peter's legendary life, how Peter became one of the most feared men in human history, how he rose from nothing, from absolute obscurity, and built a terrifying organization with his own hands. An organization that carried out countless missions soaked in blood. An organization that made even enemies tremble at the mere mention of its name. He talks about how Peter completed missions no one else dared to accept, how he survived situations that should have killed him, how his existence alone reshaped the balance of power in the underworld. And finally, he talks about betrayal, how that very organization, built through Peter's blood, sweat, and sacrifice, turned against him once he grew old, once his body weakened, once he was no longer useful. As the man continues speaking, his voice grows quieter. Then suddenly, his expression changes, a terrifying realization crashes down on him. Because he understands something far worse than death. The person standing in front of him, the one silently listening to every word of this story, is Peter himself. But something is terribly wrong. The Peter standing there is not an old man, that he is young. His posture is straight. His gaze is sharp. His presence is suffocating. At that moment, the dying man understands the truth. The story then shifts back 3 months earlier. In a quiet alley tucked away from the busy streets of the city, an old man calmly arranges books on a shelf inside a small bookshop. The shop is modest, filled with dust and the faint smell of old paper. Sunlight filters through the windows, giving the place a peaceful, almost nostalgic atmosphere. To anyone passing by, this old man looks completely ordinary. That man is Peter. After finishing his work, Peter closes the shop and prepares a large amount of medicine. Sitting alone, he speaks softly to himself. He says he is not afraid of death. For 50 years, his life has been nothing but work, bloodshed, and dangerous missions. He dedicated his entire existence to his organization. In his heart, he believes he has no regrets. But then, he looks into the mirror, and suddenly, he stops. Something about his reflection feels wrong. As he stares at his aged face, a realization slowly sinks in, quiet, painful, and deeply ironic. In his entire life, he has never taken a single picture of himself. The man who lived a legendary life, left behind no image of his own existence. Before he can dwell on the thought, the sound of the shop door opening breaks the silence. A young girl walks into the bookstore, looking for middle school textbooks. Peter greets her warmly, his expression gentle and calm. He tells her confidently that his shop has all the books she needs. The girl explains that the books are for her younger sibling. They exchange small talk about her high school and where she lives. The conversation feels natural, almost comforting. When Peter hands her the books, she hesitates. After a moment of silence, she admits that she doesn't have enough money. Without hesitation, Peter offers her a discount. Then, unexpectedly, the girl looks at him and asks, "Ajusi, do you have any regrets in your life?" Peter smiles faintly. He answers honestly that he has many regrets. His mind drifts to the image of a little girl from his past, someone deeply tied to his regrets. In a soft, almost fatherly tone, he advises her to always be kind to her younger siblings. But then, his expression changes. His tone remains calm, but it sharpens instantly. He tells her not to do anything stupid. and to turn back while she still can. Because at that very moment, the girl is about to stab him from behind with a knife. The girl freezes. Her body stiffens, her breathing stops. She cannot understand how he knew. Peter calmly explains that he knows every student from that school. Since he didn't recognize her, he decided to test her. She claimed to be in her final year, but the school itself was only built 2 years ago. Her lie was exposed. Panic floods her mind, yet she still refuses to fail her mission. As she prepares to attack again, something changes. A suffocating sense of death crashes down on her. Her instincts scream. Peter calmly tells her that in their organization, if Plan A fails, they must immediately activate Plan B. Before she can react, 2 armed men burst into the shop and open fire. Peter moves instantly. He pushes the girl away to save her and takes a bullet himself. The 2 men seize the girl as a hostage. One of them steps forward and punches Peter directly in the face. Peter staggers. His vision blurs. His body feels heavy. For the first time in his life, Peter realizes something terrifying. His body is no longer what it once was. The attackers are shocked. They can't believe they managed to strike the legendary Peter so easily. Their leader steps forward and mocks him, saying that it seems even legends can't escape cancer. Peter asks calmly why they want him dead. The man replies honestly, their boss is nervous simply because Peter is still alive. A bounty of 7.6 billion won has been placed on his head. Peter lets out a bitter laugh. That exact amount is the same money he saved in his bank after working his entire life. They beat him mercilessly until they are sure he has lost consciousness. Just as they are about to finish him off, Peter suddenly smiles. With the last of his strength, he throws a grenade toward them. The explosion tears through the shop. In the chaos, Peter barely escapes and collapses in a nearby park. Lying on the cold ground, Peter hovers between life and death. Memories flood his mind. His childhood at Glory Orphanage. The path that turned him into one of the most feared killers in the world. The countless missions he completed. And the betrayal that cast him aside when a new boss took over. Rage fills his heart. Regret overwhelms him. As his consciousness fades, Peter makes a single wish. A second chance. A chance to erase his regrets. A chance to make them all pay. Meanwhile, at Octoman's hideout, the mood couldn't be more different. Laughter echoes through the room as the goons relax, completely unaware that death has already arrived. They talk loudly, mocking the old man they nearly killed. To them, Peter is nothing more than a relic of the past, an outdated legend who failed to accept his time was over. They laugh about how easily he went down. They joke about how ridiculous it is that someone like Peter once ruled the underworld. The thought of receiving 7.6 billion won just for killing an old man fills them with excitement. To them, this money represents a brand new life, a future free from fear, poverty, and danger. One of the men picks up Peter's photo and stares at it for a long moment that he smirks and says that once Peter is confirmed dead, everything in his life will finally change. At that moment, a calm, unfamiliar voice cuts through the room. Do you know this is the first photo I've ever taken in my entire life? The laughter dies instantly. The air turns cold. The goons slowly turn around and see a young man standing there. His expression is relaxed, almost indifferent, as if he's simply having a casual conversation. For a brief moment, confusion spreads through the room. They look at the photo. Then they look at the man. The face is different. The age doesn't match. But the t-shirt is exactly the same. A chilling thought crosses their minds. One of them warns the young man that this is no place for someone like him. Another tells him to leave immediately if he values his life. The young man doesn't move. Instead, he calmly repeats that he has come to the right place. The moment the goons realize his intention, they attack. But the fight ends almost before it begins. The young man catches a punch midair and crushes the attacker's fingers without hesitation. The sound of breaking bones fills the room. When both attackers rush him together, he defeats them effortlessly, every movement precise, efficient, and merciless. As they fall, groaning in pain, he speaks calmly, almost like a teacher explaining a lesson. He says that being proficient with a single weapon makes you third class. Mastering many weapons makes you second class. But first-class fighters don't rely on weapons at all. They turn anything into one. He reaches out and grabs an octopus leg. In seconds, he uses it to subdue his enemies, wrapping it around one man's neck and slamming his face straight into a soup pot. The room falls silent as the goons collapse to the floor, half dead and unable to fight back. One of them, trembling and terrified, barely manages to ask who he is and why he's doing this. The young man walks over and picks up Peter's photo. As he looks at it, he recalls Octoman's words. That Peter was worth 7.6 billion won. Worth killing. He sets the photo on fire and lights a cigarette using the burning edges. Smoke slowly fills the room as the image of the old Peter turns to ash. Yes, that was the legendary figure, Peter. The old Peter no longer exists in this world. The real Peter is back in action. Peter's story is far from over. With his younger body restored and decades of experience intact, the world will never be the same again. The legend has returned. And this time, there will be no mercy. If you enjoyed this recap, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more legendary stories.